Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the video. Today we're going to talk about the Storm Collectibles Samurai Showdown Haohmaru. So, yeah, I've waited a long time for this guy. And that is because although I played Samurai Showdown as a kid, I sucked at it. It was not until SNK vs. Capcom 2 that I learned to get really good at Samurai Showdown, because by that time I was actually good at those kind of games. So, yeah, Haohmaru is one of those guys who his come up was SNK vs. Capcom 2, man. Like, for a lot of people in my age range. So it was just dope to have. And Samurai Showdown was just a dope game. You could disarm your opponent. Like, that was dope. Like, I think Last Blade was based off of what Samurai Showdown was doing. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. That's just me. I don't know. I don't know. But I kind of drifted off, and now I hit my lamp. But the point that I'm making is, Haohmaru is one of those characters that I've always wanted in an action figure form, and I finally got it. And weirdly enough, Bandai showed it off once and then never ever again. And I don't know what happened, but they dropped the ball because now some collectibles have it and there's no going back. So Haohmaru looks really good. Like, they nailed this sculpt. And that's one of the things I really do like enjoy about the Storm Collectible stuff. They appreciate the artist from the SNK artist, and they really rounded off that matches their art. And I'm a big SNK guy, so this means a lot to me, and I'm really feeling it. And I just want to say thank you for honoring the SNK style art, and I appreciate you guys. But yeah, let's get into the articulation. We actually have a piece. You get two pieces of hair, and I'll get into the second part later. But as you can see, I can wiggle that off. So that means the hair can kind of move around, but it has no swivel, anything like that. But for the most part, you're going to be moving the hair like this, which is going to be left or right. As you can see, it can flow. This does not move, so don't try to sit down and break that or move it. That's not possible to move, just so you guys know ahead of time. As far as our arm articulation goes, like any other standard Storm, we can hit our T-pose. We have our butterfly joint that you can see moving forward here. Voila, voila, voila. We can rotate around with no problem. We have our bicep swivel. Mine is pretty tight. We have our double joint, and the double joint is actually really nice because they made it so that the muscle doesn't get too far in the way for this guy. As you can see here, I keep doing it the same way, like it's not, there it is, and then rotating it. So it cuts in just a little bit, but the point is they've made it so that he can still hold his weapon with two arms, two hands, two of anything that each person has, as you can see here, but I'll get to that later. But I really like that. Also, for those that are curious, for customizing reasons, the bands can come off, just in case you were curious. Let's pop this hand back on. You get your standard wrist peg movement, which rotates around with little to no effort whatsoever. We still have a very nice ab crunch. You see it crunches forward. You won't be able to notice it inside of his gi here, but you can move backwards as well too. We actually can get really far backwards. And we can still tilt side to side. And I really like the Storm Soft Plastic. I don't know, it's something about it that I really enjoy on the larger figures that makes it easier, that I don't have to worry about breaking anything. Now, we have those wide pants. That's going to hinder some in some spaces, but for the most part, the articulation is still made to move freely. As you can see here, you can still extend out. You still get your thigh swivel as well too. It won't be as robust as most other figures, but you do get a swivel here along the foot. You get really nice forwards, backwards, and ankle pivot on this guy. So because this can rotate, you can actually get really nice pivot there. I really enjoy that. They made that very nice. The belt, this part right here, can swivel. So if you want to move it along with your movement and show how you're moving, you're fine. So let's put this guy down for a second, get some nice poses up. There we go. Let's get you nicely posed. And now we're going to talk about his accessories as I get them all posed up nicely. Oh, by the way, toe pivot, still has it. A right. So now let's get to those accessories. Let's talk about that. So I left Haohmaru posed like this for a particular reason, because I'm going to talk about some stuff. Let's go over our other hair piece. Our other hair piece flows back a little further. This one, when flushed against the head, will sit back perfectly against his back, right? So let's take this one off as I wiggle that out. This one is the more free-flowing one. So when you do any sort of action pose or running pose, even when you sit it directly flush against the head, sorry for all the squeaking, You see how it sits much further back? There's actually a gap now that allows you to get more range of movement. This will allow you to pick the head up against the back and look really good. So keep that in mind when you're swapping it out. Actually, let's leave it on so we have less squeaking going on. But it will make the head a tad bit heavier. So just keep that in mind. As you can see, it's lifting up the head a little bit. Then you're going to get two other facial expressions. So you'll get our angry head expression. And then we're going to get our smiling head sculpt. This one is done really nicely. And I love that the hair sits over because it has that little bit of shadow to show you I'm kind of hiding my face, but I'm looking really cool. I really like how this was done. And then we are going to jump to the hands. You'll get your natural sword holding hands. We're going to visit these back in a second. You're going to get open, relaxed hands. Then you're going to get open clawed hands. And these are going to, I guess you would call these the true action hands. You're going to get his katana with sheath. And it's sheathable. No part swapping needed. And you can actually put the sheath into his holster here. Don't move it too fast, but it does sit really well there. And we can remove it. Then we actually get the Retsuzen effect part. All you have to do is line it up, slap it in, and the Retsuzen effect part sits there. It even holds if you push it in properly. So keep that in mind when you're holding it upside down. Now, we're actually going to put the sword in hand so we can show him holding his blade properly with two hands, which I'm always a fan of. I mean, if you're going to make a character, especially a guy that holds a sword, you want to be able to make sure he can get all his natural moves. One thing you cannot do is remove the bottle of sake, not without messing it up. So the bottle of sake is actually not removable. But as you can see, Haohmaru can hold his sword with no problem. You can also probably get pretty much most generic sword poses. So those open clawed hands will come in handy here with holding your sword a particular way. This guy looks really good. In almost any samurai pose, you'll probably think about getting him in from the game at least. If you want to do some crazy stuff like me, I don't know what you're going to get into, but I hope your ideas are really cool. This guy is really, really nice. So now that we finished doing that, let's pose him up with some Storm Collectible stuff, get our crossover game on, and see how he stacks up height-wise with a bunch of other figures. I'm also going to swap the hair piece out. So let's get to it, guys. All right, now it's time for the size comparisons. Let's get Haohmaru sized up. We're going to do some Storm stuff. Now, I mentioned SNK versus Capcom. So the first thing I'm going to do is, since we don't have any other Samurai Showdown figures, we're going to compare him to Ken and Iori so we can actually get our crossover game started early. And I think he's already sized up really well with Ken. So let's see how he looks next to Iori. Get our Neo Geo crossover game platform. Oop. Let's actually get Iori's legs a little closer so we can get our real height. Which reminds me, they announced the Orochi Iori, and I'm losing my mind because I need that. And as you can see, I think he sizes up pretty well with these guys. So your SNK versus Capcom game is going to go strong already. So that is a plus. You know what? Let's actually throw Sagat in there because Sagat is a Capcom character. And why the hell not if you're going to do some crossover stuff, right? See, Sagat is gigantic. Here's Kazuya Mishima, the final battle version. And right now, all the SNK stuff is looking really solid next to each other. That is a plus in my eyes. Let's move these guys around, right? Now let's compare Mortal Kombat Scorpion because I actually have him here. So let's do that. And if we want a fighting game big guy, let's do Zangief. Because Zangief is bad guy, but he's not a bad guy. I love Wreck-It Ralph. And with Zangief here, we're actually looking still really good. These are all pluses to me. The fighting game spirits are pleased. All right, next up, let's compare some other stuff. So let's get to that. Let's try a, you know what? Let's try a ninja. Let's try Storm Shadow from the G.I. Joe collection. And as you can see, most Storm stuff is really big and really only can work with 7-inch scale stuff and higher. So let's get a McFarlane Azrael. Actually looks pretty good. So the Azrael is a plus. let's do that one. You know what? Because I don't want to forget this time, I'm going to rip it out right here. And I know you heard all that noise, but let's do a Mythic Legion because this would actually work really well in Samurai Showdown. As you might want one of these characters in there. And as you can see, he's not as big, but he's big enough to kind of work your way in there for a guy to fight Haohmaru. Hit my lamp again. Shame on me. Next up, we'll do a Predator because Predator looks really good. Right? And another SNK one, you can do World Heroes Perfect. So here's Fuma. I think Fuma would actually work really well as a substitute for Hanzo. Well, their version of Hanzo. Here we are with an SH Figuarts Kamen Rider Kuga. And he is going to be tiny next to him. Here is a Mezco Mi. Definitely going to be smaller, right? Then we have a Marvel Legends Hydra Soldier, who's pretty much mad at me, as you can see the way he's looking at me. Here's a Lightning Collection Red Ranger. Don't knock anybody down this time. And as you can see, Haohmaru is still bigger than everybody else here. He looks really good though. Last but not least, let's do these two, which would be an Articulated Icons Ninja and a 1000 Toy Synthetic Carb. We're going to round it out for the rest of the day here. So I think I've hit my quota for videos I've done today. And as you can see, all smaller. I think this is an excellent addition. I hope they continue to do other characters. I cannot wait to see who else gets announced, but I'm really looking forward to it. In the meantime, my crossover game is going to be really strong, pretty much doing SNK versus Capcom 2 stuff. In the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you found it informative. I hope you enjoyed new photos at the end. Please check them out. Trying to update the website as much as possible. It's been a slow process with my desktop down, so I've been literally uploading stuff the slowest way possible. In the meantime, guys, please be good, do good, drink your water. Later.